Hello everyone, I'm back with a new ranking video for the 13 Ghosts of Scooby Doo. Ordinarily, I would just list my top 10 and a few honorable mentions, but because there's only 13 episodes in this series, I'm just going to rank all 13 of them. The series aired in 1985 and was the 7th incarnation of the Scooby Doo series. It had a very loose storyline of Shaggy and Scooby accidentally releasing 13 ghosts from the chest of demons and having to recapture them. They're joined by Daphne, Scrappy, a con artist named Flim Flam, and a warlock named Vincent Van Ghoul. Let's start the ranking. Number 13. My least favorite episode from this series is Coast to Ghost. In this episode, Vincent Van Ghoul is slowly turning to stone, and while a gang attempts to save him, an evil ghost organization sends Rancor, one of the 13 ghosts of Scooby-Doo, after them. There have been other episodes from this series that set up a race against time much better than this. The whole episode was very forgettable. The ghosts didn't stand out, and the ghost organization didn't play a big enough role in the story. The only part about this episode that I liked was how Rancor serves the ghost organization. Most of the 13 ghosts answer to no one, so this was an interesting way to flip that around. Number 12 is It's a Wonderful Scoob. This is the strangest, most chaotic episode of the whole series. Scooby decides to quit hunting ghosts, and so Vincent Van Ghoul shows him what would happen if he wasn't there to help the gang out of sticky situations. The villain of this episode is Time Slime, a demon that intends to use his time scepter to create a world where he is its ruler. Many parts of this episode get on my nerves, like when the gang is selecting a new dog to replace Scooby. Because of these filler portions, the episode feels all over the place, and Time Slime gets pushed to the side in favor of focusing on Scooby. The only part about this episode that's enjoyable is when Scooby sees the world where Time Slime is in charge. It's so over the top that it's funny. Shaggy's gone insane, Daphne has become a mindless slave to Time Slime, and Scrappy and Flim Flam have become hardcore bikers that also serve Time Slime. Those two episodes are easily the worst in the series, but the next few actually do some things right. Number 11 is Horrorscope Scoob. This episode ranks above It's a Wonderful Scoob because it isn't as annoying to sit through, but it's extremely boring. If you've seen the other episodes, this one brings nothing new to the table. The chest of demons is stolen, again, but the twist on this is that it wasn't the monster that stole it. This concept has some potential, as you see the monster Zimbulu's perspective as he tries to find the chest, all the while not knowing who stole it yourself. The twist of who really stole this chest is pretty good, but their motivation feels weak. The reason why I say this episode is boring is because although you get an interesting perspective of Zimbulu, the gang ends up running around from place to place the entire episode, and nothing ends up really coming from that besides having to escape from the recurring ghost goofballs of the series. The ending feels very condensed, and when Zimbulu does end up opening the chest of demons, 3 generic ghosts come out instead of the 11 terrifying ghosts that had already been captured up to this point. And then Flim Flam sucks them all up with a vacuum ghost catcher. It is a callback to the 4th episode where Flim Flam bought it, but the issue here is that if it's so easy to suck up ghosts, then why didn't they use it on the other 9 ghosts they caught? Number 10 is Me and My Shadow Demon. The chest of demons is stolen by a shadow demon. The gang searches for it at Befuddle Manor, a place that contains an impossible to escape from maze. The ghost residing at the manor is Queen Morbidia, who is also looking for the chest. I'm just realizing now how similar this episode is to Horrorscope Scoob. The gang then gets lost in the maze for a little while, only to come across the man that built Befuddle Manor and the Shadow Demon, which happens to be his shadow. Again, lots of cool concepts here, but I don't like the execution. It feels like the episode is being made up as you go along. Morbidia isn't a compelling ghost, and while the whole Shadow Demon and inescapable maze is a cool idea, it feels cut short in favor of this.
Me and my shadow demon.
Number 9 is When You Witch Upon a Star. This episode is the one with the most wasted potential. Marcella is one of the greatest villains from the series in terms of looks, but her potential is squandered by the fact that she rarely appears in this episode. This is because she's trapped in the zone of eternal evil, and enlists the help of 3 dim-witted witches to help her escape. It just doesn't make sense to me that the 13 ghosts were released in the first episode, only for one to need to be released a second time from a different area. The witch sisters are annoying. I would much rather watch a scenario where the gang has to contend with Marcella themselves. Vincent has a side plot that goes nowhere, in which he travels to the zone of eternal evil and is captured by Marcella. It's really too bad. This episode could have been great. But all the episodes from now on are good to very good. Number 8 is Scooby in Quackyland. One of the most unique episodes of this series. The gang gets trapped inside the comic section of the newspaper by a demon named Demondo, and must get help from the characters inside the comics to help them escape. Demondo's plan to get the chest of demons and also get the gang out of the way is overly complex, but there is fun to be had as the gang goes through the different comic strips to find the magical ink pen that will bring them home. I don't have too much to say about this episode. It's just consistently good, but fails to achieve much more than that. Number 7 is Ship of Ghouls. In this episode, Scooby has had it with ghosts and needs a vacation. They decide to take a tropical cruise, but it is eventually revealed that this is a ghost ship, and all of the inhabitants are ghouls. The side plot of Scooby being constantly scared by the two ghosts, Bogle and Weird, is admittedly pretty funny. Flimflam decides not to be as annoying as he usually is, and tries to distract Scooby by doing magic for him. When that doesn't work, he hypnotizes Scooby to laugh instead of being scared in the face of danger. This leads to some funny moments when the ghouls reveal themselves, with Scooby laughing in their faces. When the chest of demons is opened again, there's a great callback to the magic trick Flimflam performed for Scooby earlier, allowing him to trap the ghosts inside the chest of demons. According to the Scooby Wiki, demons released from the chest were combined into the Cyclops that was eventually recaptured. It doesn't make much sense to me why they would combine into an easily capturable creature, but this is my biggest complaint for this episode. The episode setting isn't as memorable as the ones from the episodes above it, but this episode did so many things well. My favorite part is when the people on the ship are revealed to be ghosts. The reveal is handled very well. Number 6 is A Spooky Little Ghoul Like You. In this episode, Vincent Van Ghoul falls under the love spell of the demon Nakara while attending a Warlock of the Year convention. The gang must try to rescue him before Nakara kisses him and drains him of his magic. This episode feels more grounded than some of the other high-concept episodes. I didn't feel confused when I was watching it, which is a plus. What holds it back from being higher is simply that it isn't as compelling as the episodes above it. Nakara is a good villain, but I feel like she lacks some of the intimidating presence that other monsters have. Number 5 is Reflections in a Ghoulish Eye. In this episode, the Reflector Spectre uses Bogle and Weird to try and capture the gang in his mirror. I think that the Morocco desert setting is a nice change of pace from the normal spooky atmospheres that the ghosts tend to inhabit. I also think that this is the episode where Bogle and Weird have the most reason to be there besides the first episode. This is because of the Reflector Spectre is in a mirror, meaning he needs the ghost to position him to be able to capture his victims. The amulet Daphne receives is called back nicely to help rescue everyone from the mirror dimension at the end. I like how the words were only readable when they were in the mirror because they were flipped. However, there is some big negatives that this episode has. The ghost catchers that treat Scooby like a celebrity are really annoying, and being chased away by the hotel people was a little fun, but unnecessary for the episode. The top 4 episodes are my favorites of the series, a tier above the rest. Number 4 is the ghouliest show on Earth. If you watched my top 10 Scooby Doo Where Are You episodes, you would know that I'm a big fan of the circus setting in Foul Play in Funland, and this episode also uses it to great effect. Scooby is visiting his family in Douville when a mysterious circus shows up and draws all of the citizens in with the promise of free entertainment and food. Because it's Scooby Doo, you know that there's something sinister with the circus, but this episode takes the proper amount of time dedicated to showing the false sense of security everyone has. The best part of this episode is how Flimflam's opportunistic nature is taken advantage of when he tries to become partners with Professor Phantasmo, the ringmaster of the fair and one of the 13 ghosts. When Shaggy and Scooby realize that the carnival is actually filled with monsters in disguise, Flimflam sneaks back into the fair. This totally fits with his character and nearly leads to Phantasmo getting his hands on the chest. It's a very well done episode that feels like it's over too soon. If I had any complaints, it would be that the ending is a bit clunky in comparison to the rest of the episode. Number 3 is Scoobra Kadubra. In this episode, the gang heads to a haunted forest to capture Maldor, an evil warlock from the Dark Ages. Maldor seeks a magic wand hidden in the castle he now resides in. It is a bit strange that he was unable to find the wand, seeing as how later it is revealed to be hidden inside that utensil drawer in the castle kitchen. Maldor is one of the best villains of the series. He feels like he's probably the most powerful of all the 13 ghosts, though Marcella never got the chance to display her power much. He has no trouble overpowering the gang, and only fails to harm Scooby when he has the wand. It's moments like this where you see flashes of brilliance that this show has. It's a great episode that only gets docked points for its lack of creativity in how the episode plays out. It's a pretty standard fantasy storyline, but it's just done well. Number 2 is That's Monstertainment. While watching a horror movie marathon, the gang is transported into the horror movie by Zomba, one of the 13 ghosts. Zomba also transports herself to the gang's house to try and grab the chest of demons while the gang's all trapped in the movie. They must try to survive the horror movie while Zomba tries to get past all the booby traps on the chest. A very creative concept that's done justice. The final showdown between Zomba and the gang legitimately feels tense and fits in seamlessly with the horror movie setting. Zomba is a little goofy looking for the episode, but besides that, I really have no complaints. Number 1 is To All the Ghouls I've Loved Before. In this episode, the gang lands their plane in the remote village in the Himalayan mountains, unaware that 2 ghosts named Bogle and Weird plan on using them to open the fabled chest of demons. This feels like the most complete story out of all the episodes in this series. The reveal that the townfolk turn into werewolves at night is very well done, and having Daphne turn into a werewolf adds a bit of extra terror to the mix. Bogle and Weird's manipulation of the gang into the temple with the House of Demons is weaved in very well with the werewolf townspeople's story. It's all paced very well. My biggest complaint with the werewolf section is how easy it was for the gang to turn the werewolves back into humans. It's all made up for at the end though, when Shaggy and Scooby think they're on a game show and have won a giant prize. Their ignorant giddiness when they're about to open the chest of demons is matched so well with Bogle and Weird's evil giddiness, knowing what they're about to do. When the chest is opened, it's like a massive gut punch to the viewer. Shaggy and Scooby realize way too late what they've done, and all the 13 ghosts steamroll their way through. The episode's great pacing and the emotional dread that the audience feels at different points in the episode make it my favorite episode of the 13 Ghosts of Scooby Doo. Thanks for watching the video. Be sure to subscribe and check out my other Scooby Doo videos. I'd like to do more Scooby Doo content than just rankings, so be sure to let me know what types of videos you would like to see. Have a fantastic day.